Hello, hello, hello. Ah, it's perfect that what just happened because sometimes things get so chaotic and vexing that all you can do is laugh and I'm grateful for that. I tried to go live stream and record record about a topic about anxiety and how I deal with anxiety, and then I start talking for 10 minutes and the sound isn't working. And that's what makes me anxious. That's what makes me wrath fueled, but that's okay. That's okay because sometimes all we can do is laugh. All right, I hope this is working now, but if not, we can laugh. So I'm gonna talk about there's when I say how I deal with anxiety, it's not something that I'm talking about within my mind. Sometimes my body ramps up. It feels like my stomach is crumbling and my chest is crumbling under above my stomach. And it is anxiety, it's vexation, it's panic. And I'm going to talk about what that is, why I experience it, and how I deal with it. But first, I want to read this. It's from Ecclesiastes. It's a brief what would you call this? It's like poetry. It's like first person poetry. Ecclesiastes 10. The heart of a wise man is in his right hand, and the heart of a foolish man is in his left hand. Moreover, as a foolish man is walking along the way, even though he himself is unwise, he considers everyone to be foolish. If the spirit of one who holds authority rises over you, do not leave your place, because attentiveness will cause the greatest sins to cease. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, proceeding from the presence of a prince, as if by mistake. A foolish man appointed to a high dignity, and the rich sitting beneath him. I have seen servants on horses and princes walking on the ground like servants. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and whoever tears apart a hedge, a snake will bite him. Whoever carries away stones will be harmed by them, and whoever cuts down trees will be wounded by them. If the iron is dull, and if it was not that way before, but has been made dull by much labor, then it will be sharpened, and wisdom will fall after diligence. Whoever slanders in secret is nothing less than a snake that bites silently. Words from the mouth of a wise man are graceful, but the lips of a foolish man will throw him down with violence. At the beginning of his words is foolishness, and at the end of his talk is a most grievous error. The fool multiplies his words. A man does not know what has been before him, and who is able to reveal to him what will be in the future after him? The hardship of the foolish will afflict those who do not go into the city. Woe to you, the land whose king is a boy and whose princes consume in the morning. Blessed is the land whose king is noble and whose princes eat at the proper time, for refreshment and not for self-indulgence. By laziness a framework shall be brought down, and by the weakness of hands a house shall collapse through. While laughing they make bread and wine, so that the living may feast, and all things are obedient to money. You should not slander the king, even in your thoughts, and you should not speak evil of a wealthy man, even in your private chamber, for even the birds of the air will carry your voice, and whatever has wings will announce your opinion. Welcome back, Ray. Thanks for letting me know about the audio. Orphan AF, living with generalized anxiety is very difficult. That's why I do that number that I just did right there. That's why I breathe like that, try to catch my breath, because I do that when I'm in a mild panic. I do that when I feel anxious. So I want to talk about how I deal with anxiety and what I mean by anxiety, the type of anxiety that I'm referring to. I don't think it's my opinion. I think people are born into this world with certain tendencies and certain proclivities. And I think some people are born more neurotic and some people are born less neurotic. But I don't think somebody is born in a way that you would say that person has anxiety, as in that person is anxious right now and that person is destined to be anxious. I don't believe that, but I do believe some people are more neurotic than others. And what neurotic means is, to be neurotic means you are highly sensitive to negative emotion. That you're highly sensitive to negative emotion and you're highly sensitive to threats. And so if you're a person who has that sort of proclivity, that you are neurotic, then that means you're going to be really empathetic. But when things aren't going well in your personal life, or even just in the world around you that you can see, even if there's not pain directly, even if there's not an acute pain pressing against you, it's going to be what Orhan AF just said. It's like a generalized anxiety. It's like there's a feeling within your stomach, and sometimes it really boils up is the right word, because sometimes it boils up and then it affects your heart, and your heart RPMs are running really fast. But sometimes it reaches up all the way into your mind, and you feel it like right here, and it I don't know how else to describe it than it's like a drug. It's like it's like your it's like something foreign is affecting your faculties. Something foreign is affecting your sights. And the thing that causes me to be anxious, the thing that makes me most anxious, is what I would call maybe the opposite of freedom. If I feel free and I feel confident in my freedom, then, as in, if I feel like I'm free and and I'm confident in the decisions I've made and decisions that I can continue making, then all is well. But if I either don't feel free, if I feel like choices are in my control, but there's external circumstances that are outside of my control, as in if I feel tyrannized by other people or other principalities, then that makes me incredibly anxious. And that's partially why I record these videos. It's partially why I began recording these videos. because the life that I was living, it didn't have a lot of freedom within it. I had there's been times that my financial situation has been strong, but just because you are well off financially doesn't mean that you have freedom. And I wasn't sure in the times when my finances were in good shape, I wasn't sure exactly what the freedom was that I was missing, but I was certainly missing freedom. And so I was willing to trade all of that to gain freedom. And the crazy thing is, I started making these videos. I've never really been sure what I was doing, but right now we're in 2025. It's June of 2025. I really started making these videos without cessation, without stopping, in summer of 2023, so about 2 years ago. And I was just, I would take this equipment that I have right here out into a garden area, a beautiful area. And I would have a topic that I wanted to speak about, and then I would pontificate on that topic. It would be like a meditation on that topic. And it was so fulfilling to do that. And nobody was really listening to any of those videos, but it was so fulfilling because it was free. And that was about 2 years ago, and it essentially went that exact same way as I was making these videos for at least the next year, where there was almost nobody ever really watching the videos. And sometimes that would make me a little bit anxious because, truthfully, I don't know exactly how I would identify it. I don't know what box I would put it in. But I want my vocation to be creating, whether it's writing or whether it's creating videos or something within this realm, something in the realm of creating. And so if you want this to be your vocation, but people aren't really watching it, that doesn't really add up. Like, then it's something that you can do for fun and it can be fulfilling, but it couldn't really be something that you would earn a living from. And so that's how I made videos for like the first year, that literally nobody was watching it. And truthfully, it was essentially that way for almost almost up until very recently. But the thing is, it always was so fun, even when nobody was watching it. Even despite the fact that I was anxious because I was always running out of money and my bank account was always going into the negatives. It was always fun and it was always worth it because I always thought of it in terms of what would I want to do if, imagine money weren't a factor. Imagine you had all of the money that you could possibly ever need and want. What would you, how would you spend your time? If all of your monetary needs were completely met and the accumulation of more money wouldn't do anything for you because you had all of the money that you could possibly need, how would you spend your time? And that's what I thought about as to the reason why I began making these videos to begin with. If I were in that situation right now, I would truly, I would be doing exactly this right in this moment. And so now that's what I'm trying to do, is realign with that. Realign with doing things for the right reasons. Because let it be known, all of the things that I talk about in my videos are true, especially the literal circumstances of my life. And so it's incredibly anxiety inducing because anxiety is I looked up the definition of it actually earlier. Anxiety, a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. Desire to do something, typically accompanied by unease. So those are two similar definitions of anxiety, two different but two similar definitions of anxiety. A feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So now I'm in a spot where I love creating these videos. I've always loved creating these videos. And what I'm doing right now, this is a live stream, of course, but I was doing this exact same thing, not as a live stream. I was doing this exact same thing in a random forest in the park in Ocala. So it's exactly what I want to do, but sometimes my intentions find themselves misaligned with freedom and with the purpose and with what it is that I actually like. And it's because of this definition of anxiety, which is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So the entirety of my life right now, the future that I'm walking into is by definition an uncertain outcome. I don't know where any of this is going to lead. And it's one thing there has been a bit of anxiety within me for the past 2 years ever since I started living in a van. But I put effort forward and I try to create and I try to do my best and I try to do keep it very simple, and what I try to do is make today better than yesterday and make tomorrow better than today. Just keep getting better each and every day. And you look to God and you have faith in God that he will take care of your future. Whatever the thing that is causing you unease and worry about the future, he will deliver you from it in a way that it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be worth your time to worry about it. You can have faith in knowing that whatever it means, whatever this means exactly, it's uncertain, but everything will be okay. And so I go through time and I try to make today better than yesterday, and I try to make tomorrow better than today. And you maintain this faith that everything will work out and that God will take care of you. But as time moves forward and you find yourself in a similar spot, not really evolving too much, or feeling like you're not growing too much, feeling like it's a similar spot that you've been in, it what would the anxiety that pierces through is inherently a rattling of faith, because there's an anxiety that pierces through. The thing that it pierces through is faith, and it rattles your faith. But I'm grateful that it happens, because it's like this idea that people reach a point in their life that they are very successful, And once they reach that point, they can see in retrospect that the money they've achieved money, or they've achieved success and they've achieved fame, but they'll tell other people it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. It's not everything that I thought it would be. And in that same way, it would be there's something tragic in that, because it would be better for them to find fulfillment and joy and something close to happiness before they ever got to that place of having the worldly success, because then if they got the worldly success, it would just magnify the the joy that they found when they had nothing. And so for me, because my future is very uncertain, or at least I feel like it is, it's something that I can't see. I know that God can see it, and I have faith that everything will be okay, but it's something that I can't explicitly see. And so that creates an unease within me. But it's a good question to think of. Well, what do I even want then? The other definition of anxiety is a desire to do something typically accompanied by unease. How do I want my day to look relative to how it does look? What is my desire to have or do that's causing me all of this unease? Is it not true that everything that I have right now is everything that I could possibly need and want? Because I say that, but do I actually believe it? Do I actually believe it? The Big Ounce said, anxiety is quite a literal thing. You are not anxious for no reason. Find the reason and try to tackle it. Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm talking about this, to locate the reason why I have felt anxious. But I mean, I guess I'm going about it in a roundabout way, but truthfully I know the reason why I feel anxious. I'm trying to explain the backstory, but you got to think, I love to make these videos right here. This is a strange thing that's happening right here, because throughout history we've had people who like to create. We've got painters, we've got writers, we've got orators, we've got a bunch of people. Historically, an archetype of person is someone who likes to create. But the thing about the internet, like, to take it one step back, the thing that I like to do is write. So if I were around in the 1900s, 1880s, and I still had this proclivity to write, and I was trying to make writing my vocation, then I would just write something. I would write a story, and it would take me 2 years to write that story, or it might take me 8 months or 5 years. However long it takes me. But it's just me and the story. It's just me creating the story for that amount of time. And then I would release the story, and people would read it, and people would either love it or hate it. But it's out of my hands at that point. The story is already created. But the thing about 2025, the thing about creating in 2025, it's not that same circumstance, because I get online and I record videos, and I live stream, and I record videos that, in the way that I see them, are kind of like a daily journal. When I walk around in the forest and speak about a subject, that's kind of like a daily journal, in my opinion. That's how I see it. So I do these things, and it's just modern creation. It's like the same thing that would have happened in the 1800s, but it's with modern tools, i.e. the internet. And the issue with the internet's got so much good to it. It's got so much good, but it also has many potential pitfalls. And one of the pitfalls are the immediacy of feedback. Like there's a live stream chat right now, so I'm pontificating on anxiety and the reason why I feel anxiety and the things that make me anxious. And there's literally people in the live stream chat that are able to give me immediate feedback. But even if it's not a live stream, if it's a video, you get comments. And the thing is, I do want to read comments. I like to read comments. But there is something unusual about the way that the human mind perceives comments, which is that I was. Give me 1 second. Let me get some water. Give me 12 seconds. Do 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 do. Dun 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 dun. Anyway, thanks for your patience. The human mind does it's such an anomalous thing. The way that we um relate to the internet. I'll say it in regards to being a person who creates content and then gets feedback about the content. But it's kind of the same thing about doom scrolling or reading on social media. It's such a potent drug, and it's addicting. I pay attention to it now. So, in regards to doom scrolling and getting on social media without reason, sometimes I'll get on Twitter, X, and I didn't even have Twitter for. I had it in like 2013, and then I graduated high school, and then I deleted it. And then I downloaded it again like 2 years ago. And I think about it in real time. I'm like, man, there's nothing on here for me. I've n- I'm like, man, what am I trying to find? I've never seen anything on here that's been of value. I've literally never seen anything on here that's been of value. Why do I keep getting on here? What am I trying to find? But there's something, I don't know what it is, but it really is like a drug. It just pulls you into it. And it's like, I guess, reading the newspaper. You try to perceive it as though you're reading the newspaper and you're keeping up with current events, but it's usually in the things that aren't brain rot, the things that are like contemporary events, the political or diplomatic or uh, the changes happening throughout the world that might be relevant. Once you start to pay attention for a little while, you're like, oh, this is all lies anyway. Most of this is made up, and so if the newspaper aspect of getting on social media is made up, why am I getting on here at all? But in regards to that and being somebody who creates content on the internet, creates videos, uploads to them, puts myself out there for scrutiny and criticism. One thing I've realized, I went for a long run yesterday because I needed it. I really needed it. And as I was running through a shaded place, a place with a lot of trees, I had this thought that I was like, man, I think my mind, what my mind does, and I think this is what everybody's mind does, is that you've only got a limited amount of space for compliments, for positivity, and you've got a limited amount of space for negativity. But you might have, for example, if you think about it in terms of YouTube comments, if you have 5 slots for optimistic, positive comments, well, you might have 7 spots for negative comments, negativity. And that's all that you can manage. And so if you get 100 positive things said to you, there's only 5 slots available, so you can only remember 5 of them. And if you get 8 total negative things said to you, well, there's 7 slots for negativity. And so the math on that is so that despite the fact that you got 100 positive things said to you and 8 negative things said to you, you can only remember 5 of the positive things, and you can remember 7 of the negative things. So at the end of the day, you have more negativity within you than positivity. And I think that's how I think that's how, I'll say it for myself, I think that's how my mind works. That I'm always looking out for threats. I'm always looking out for, I'm hypersensitive to negative emotion. And so what do you do with that? What happens when you're in that state? Well, the thing that makes me anxious about it, the only way that it would make me anxious is if I internalized it. As in, if I let these negative things that are even, it doesn't matter if they're actually negative or if I just perceive them to be negative. If I let these things that I'm perceiving to be negative around me affect me internally, that's when it becomes anxiety. When I let it change the way that I live the day, when I let it essentially change who I am, that's when it actually becomes anxiety. And so I guess all of that comments, it's just that the recipe of my life, the recipe of where I am right now, the culmination of everything, it's put me into a hyper vulnerable spot. And so, like, any pinprick, any slightly negative thing, even if it's actually not negative, but if I just perceive it to be negative, it because it's like it's like I just experienced, it's like I've got open wounds everywhere all over my body. And so everything is so sensitive in this moment. So anything that is, if you just touch me, it's like, that hurts so bad. She said massive problems with the transmission. What does that mean? What is the massive problem with the transmission? Anyway, when you're in that spot of hyper vulnerability, if there's anything, any minutia that seems to be negativity, it can make you recoil. It can make you want to just hide away back into yourself. Ray said it's loud and clear on his side. What about you, Jake Fraser? Is it loud and clear on your side as well? Jake Fraser. Do, do, do. Fanny said hello from Indonesia. Hello, Fanny. Angelica said massive problems with the transmission. Yeah, elaborate on that, please. Or I have to assume there's no issues. Ray said, LOLs, I'm a female. Sorry if I referred to you as a male just now. I don't know if you're talking to me or talking to Jake. I don't know what was said. Make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Jake Fraser says, I am good. I have been reading consistently. So I'm going to have to assume that there are no problems with the transmission or whatever you're referring to. In regards to freedom, being neurotic, hypersensitive to negative emotion, anxiety, in regards to these things, how could I say it? I know what I'm trying to say, but how can I say it? Freedom, living well, the brevity of life. I had a comment, or maybe not a comment, a suggestion about spiritual hygiene. And oh yeah, Ray, sorry if I referred to you as a male. I had a suggestion about spiritual hygiene and it being bad spiritual hygiene to let too many people have access to you. And that does make so much sense to me because now I will talk about the story of David and Saul, the thing that I was trying to articulate yesterday. Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin, and I said that yesterday, and somebody said that I was saying that David was from the tribe of Benjamin. I didn't say that. I said Saul is from the tribe of Benjamin and David is from the tribe of Judah. But they both have very similar upbringings. They both come from humble families. They both come from families who aren't very wealthy. They both were anointed by Samuel. Samuel was told to anoint them by God. When Samuel first anointed both of them, they were incredibly humble about it. And they said, how could you be anointing me for this? I'm just a humble man. You must have the wrong guy. So they were both very humble about it. But it's such a beautiful story because you can see Saul change. Saul changes just ever so subtly. But maybe he actually didn't change because from the beginning of David's life, King David was always oriented towards God. Everything that he was doing was towards God. And Saul Saul had humility. Saul was humble, but the humility was more so relative to other people and not so much towards God. He wasn't humble towards God. He was humble relative to other human beings. And both of those things get extrapolated throughout the story of 1 Samuel, which is that Saul is a people pleaser. Saul has more and more humility towards the people whom he is the king over. And that becomes his downfall, because everything that he does is to please the people who he's serving, but it's not because he is a servant of the people. He wants to ensure that they always praise him. He takes very seriously their praise, and he doesn't want to lose their praise. And that's his downfall. But David doesn't really care much about how the people see him, at least not when it's at the expense of David, or at the expense of, when it's at odds with how God sees him. Wait 1 second. Is there a buzzing in the microphone now? Or it might just be in my ear. Let me know if there's a buzzing in the microphone. I'd plug the power in, and it makes a buzzing within my headphones, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. Jake said, the pain of discipline is better than the pain of regret. It's not about do not worry about future or past. Be in the present moment. It's also about valuing our present time to secure a better future. That's my opinion. Okay, thank you, Jake. Jake said the audio is clear. So Saul cares too much about what people think of him, and David only cares about what God thinks of him. And when you so for me in my life, I put these videos out onto the internet, and I've never, it's not about that I care about what people think of me or I care about people tearing me down, but it's like sometimes you drift into the realm of people pleasing. You try to create what you perceive other people to want you to create, for a whole myriad of reasons. Because if maybe you think that if you get more views, you'll be more successful, and so you try to do the things that would get you more views, and you try to talk about things that you believe other people want you to talk about. But it's an absolute disaster for many reasons, but one is because there's too many people. And so you couldn't please everybody, and if you try to please anybody, it is a downward spiral. You end up pleasing nobody, including yourself. It's like Nietzsche had a quote. Nietzsche said, He who knows the reader does nothing more for the reader. He who knows the reader does nothing more for the reader. And so that's why earlier I was talking about if you were a writer back in the 1800s, which is when Nietzsche was a writer, maybe you're a person who you're trying to write novels, but if you try to please the readers, if you try to write a book that a lot of people would want to buy and a lot of people would want to read, then what'll happen is, I don't know how else to say it other than it will be not alive. The thing that you write will be stale. It will be dead. And I think everybody would know what I mean when I say that, because why would it be stale? Why would it be dead? Because it's not the only thing that we have is honesty. If you're somebody who creates whatever it is that you create, or whatever it is that you do in this world, there's like a prerequisite to doing good in this life. And that prerequisite is honesty. And if you are honest, if you are always speaking truth, if you are always being honest with yourself and with other people, then the things that you create, other people might like them or they might like them, but because it's honest, it'll be good. But if you're not honest, if you are disingenuous, if you have an agenda and thus you are being manipulative, then the thing that you create will not be good. So sometimes this is all that you can do. Is I was feeling a little bit anxious, and I wanted to get on here and record a video today, but I wasn't super sure what to record it. But I just wanted to do it, and so it's like, well, let me get on here and talk about being anxious. Let me talk about how I'm feeling, and it might not be good, but that's okay. Jake Fraser said, your thoughts on positive isolation. What do you mean by positive isolation? What is positive isolation? Here, we'll look it up. So I'm back to the velvet underground, back to the floor that I love. Positive isolation. In the context of process safety and confined space entry, refers to a complete and physically verifiable method of isolating equipment or that can't be what you're talking about. What do you mean by positive isolation, Jake Fraser? I would assume that you mean going into isolation for a good reason. Going into isolation with intention, being isolated for a specific reason. Persist. Yesterday I felt really bad. Truthfully, I felt really bad because All right, let me talk about that in a second. You just responded, but let me talk about this now first. Yesterday I felt really bad because I did a live stream and I went live for about 25 minutes. But there were some tech issues. I've got this new setup, and I was trying to figure it all out, and the software that I'm using kept telling me that the chat was disconnected. And after it kept saying it, I was just like, all right, let me end this live stream. And then I deleted it. I deleted that live stream. And there was something that didn't sit right with me about all of that. And the thing that I didn't like is this is my whole point. It's what I'm trying to say, which is that I started making these videos because it's what I love to do. And too often now, I've allowed other voices to give me advice. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but it's like, man, some people want to give you advice and they don't even know what it is that you're doing or why. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know why you're doing it. They've never done it themselves, but they'll give you all of the advice. And that's fine, but sometimes the information overload that we receive becomes just that, an overload. And it's hard to discern what is good advice and what is bad advice. And I'm not saying that it exists. It's a problem that I would have not wanted to keep live streaming just because either there wasn't a chat or I was disconnected from the chat. Because if that were my issue, if I need a chat to live stream, I would never have gotten this far. Not only would I have not gotten this far, and I just wouldn't be doing this anymore because I never had a chat. I never had a live stream. I never had the immediacy of feedback, but I loved it nonetheless. I always loved it. And so something didn't sit right with me about having needed or trying to do a live stream and either not having a chat or it telling me that I was getting disconnected from the chat. And it just made me question, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Like I've gone so far off the mark. I've gone so far away from the reason why I began. And that's the reason for anxiety. That's why I say that the problem is teach me the brevity of life, and that way we will know wisdom. That's the source of my anxiety. I don't say that because life is short and the shortness of life makes me anxious. I say that because life is short and life is something like a marathon. It's a race that we're meant to persist, yes, but we're meant to run it with joy. We're meant to follow our interests and do the things that we love. And if you're allowing 1,000 people to pull you in 18,000 directions and you're just completely in chaos, that is not a good place to be. That is not a good life to live. And that's why you don't want to be trapped in, you don't want to be too focused on yourself. Yes, you don't want to be, you want to live in a way that is better for other people, but you also can't let yourself be dependent on other people. You can't let your joy be dependent on who shows up for you and when. And so if you put your, if you look at a day and you're like, well, okay, if the day went this way, that'd be a success. If the day went that way, that would be a success. If this doesn't happen today, it's a failure. Sometimes I get caught into that trap of feeling that way as well. But the things that I'm designating as success or failure are usually things that are outside of my control. And so that's why I've got this very simple phrase that I circle back to at various points in my life. Life truly is like a circle because I just find myself, I find myself relearning the same lessons, but just learning them to a greater extent. And the lesson that I need to learn right now is, one, patience and humility. Patience and humility, and what does that mean? This actually is such a beautiful thing if you guys digest this. Make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Don't do anything else than that. Live in a way that you can make today better than yesterday, make tomorrow better than today. Because we often find ourselves in bad habits. We have things that are causing us suffering in life, and because the suffering is painful, we look for pleasure to escape the pain sometimes, but the pain then becomes the pain, or the pleasure that you were using as a solution actually becomes the problem. And then when you find yourself, I mean, I did this recently with nutrition. I was eating horribly and just kind of being blind to it as well, just eating horribly, but making excuses for why I was eating horribly. And then it sent me into a spiral where, I mean, I literally was having panic attacks. I don't think nutrition is a trivial thing. Nutrition is a very real thing. And if you don't have if you eat for your taste buds and not for your stomach, if you cling to hyperpalatable foods, that is a way to borrow from tomorrow for today. And you're borrowing at an incredibly high interest because you're going to feel bad tomorrow, and you're going to eat more bad food tomorrow, and you're going to feel even worse the next day. So that's why I love this idea of don't try to change everything in one day. You can't change everything in one day. Just make today better than tomorrow. Or make today better. No, don't make today better than tomorrow. Then we're going backwards. Make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Just keep fixing one small thing today, and then the thing that you fixed today, document it and make sure you do that again tomorrow, and then make something else even better. And that's where I've been with my nutrition, and now my nutrition is back on point. And I'm doing baby steps. I'm doing baby steps to be better. And truthfully, one of the things is a live stream like this. Because I get terrified. I truly, if I don't do it for a long period of time, I get terrified. But I like it. I do like it. And I don't know if this makes sense, but I don't love the terror, but there's something true about the fact that it's terrifying me. There's something true about the fact that there's so much resistance of and fear towards walking into it and doing it, and the live aspect of it, and you're just in the heat, and you can't it's like it's like being a stand-up comedian, and once you're on stage, you are on stage, and if you just bail off of stage, if you just if you just get so afraid that you bail, then I mean, that might be the funniest thing that you could do, actually, especially if you were actually afraid. This is kind of a side note, but I recorded 113 of basically what I'm doing right now, but without the live chat, just podcasts, and I'm going to get back to those as well. I'm going to do 114 and keep that going. But I had I recorded one. I forget which one it was, but I was talking about how just sitting there and talking to a camera by yourself is kind of like a stand-up comedian that just keeps getting on stage. And he runs out of funny things to say, but the funniest thing that you can say is just completely blunt honesty. Just be as honest as you possibly can. And that is but it reaches a point where it's not really funny anymore, and the comedian would just be on stage saying brutally vulnerable things, and it would just be like a confession. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Jake Fraser said, "Oh, sorry, don't stress." Yeah, there's things that stress me out, but I think it's also good to go into the things that stress you out sometimes. All right, let me address. Sarah said something interesting, and I didn't get a chance to read it. Let me go find that. Welcome, Sarah. How can I stop looking for external validation when I feel anxious? Oh, yes. I'm happy that you brought this up. When I was I've learned in everything that I've done a wide array of different things in my life, and the one similar thread throughout everything that I've ever done is that I'm always trying to learn. I'm trying to learn not only the specifics of the endeavor that I'm doing, whether it's football, weightlifting, sales, putting siding on a house, writing, recording content, whatever it is, I'm always trying to learn. But I'm not just trying to learn about the specifics of that thing. I'm trying to learn how it relates to the entirety of life. And there was something that was told to me when I was working sales at a mortgage company. And I had a team of individuals, and my team, I was leading like 7 individuals, 6 or 7 individuals. And we were always the first team there, but we were the young team. We had there were like 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds on my team. Very young individuals, youngest team by far. So we were outworking everybody, but we just didn't have the maturity or we just didn't have the experience to outperform everybody. So we just had to outwork everybody. So we were coming in early, and one day the CEO of the whole company, or the founder of the company, who had risen above CEO, he was the leader of the board. He came in, and we were the only team there this morning, on this particular morning, and he was so fired up, and he was like, look, he could tell that we were anxious because we were falling behind in the week, and the issue is that when you have pressure on yourself, and when you're trying to get certain results, it's the issue of, to those who have more, everything will be given. To those who have nothing, everything will be taken away. And I am answering your question, Sarah. She said, how can I stop looking for external validation when I feel anxious? We get anxious, and we want other people to affirm us, or we want to get things that we can hang our hat on and say, well, at least I succeeded here. I got tangible success today. But on this particular morning, when the founder of the company came in, he said something to me that I always remember. It was profound. He was so fired up, and he's like, look, I don't care how today goes. I don't care what the results are of the day are, but you know what is excellent. You guys all know what is excellent. And so don't worry about the results. It doesn't matter how this day goes or this week ends up. Just do one thing. And that is, in everything that you do today, be excellent. In everything that you do, be excellent. And I think that's the best cure for anxiety, especially when you are in a spot where you are anxious for an actual reason, where your life has gone in a certain direction and you need results, and if you don't get results, there's going to be consequences for you not getting results. But then that pressure is going to make it so you certainly won't get results, so you have to get rid of the pressure. So it's like, let me stop looking for external results. Let me turn back internally and focus on what I can control. And when I call this client, I can have an excellent conversation. I don't know how the conversation's going to go. The client may not want to do the deal. I may do what other people perceive as failing, but in everything that I do, let me be undeniably excellent. And that goes back to the story of David, because King Saul could never rise. King Saul could never win because it's like he was trying to he was seeking validation, he was seeking satisfaction, but it's like he was pouring into a cup that had a hole at the bottom. He could never get enough praise, he could never get enough satisfaction because he was trying to get it for other people. And other people, our love isn't perfect, our praise isn't perfect, our judgment isn't perfect, but God's love is perfect, God is forgiving, God's judgment is perfect. And so if you get your validation from God, then it's the opposite. Rather than you pouring into a cup with a hole in the bottom and never finding satisfaction, it's like God pours into your cup, and the cup runneth over. I'm looking for a verse, Paul verse about thinking of excellence. So that's what David did. David kept his mind on God, and Saul kept his mind on people. And in that same way, Paul, in the book of the Philippians, says a similar thing. He says, here it is. I'll read the context as well. And so my most beloved and my most desired brothers, my joy and my crown, stand firm in this way. And the Lord most beloved, I ask Euodia and I beg Syntyche to have the same understanding in the Lord. And I also ask you, as my genuine companion, to assist those women who have labored with me in the gospel, with Clement and the rest of my assistants, whose name are in the book of life. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I say, rejoice. Let your modesty be known to all men. The Lord is near. Be anxious about nothing, but in all things with prayer and supplication, with acts of thanksgiving, let your petitions be made and known to God. And so shall the peace of God, which exceeds all understanding, guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And then here it is. Concerning the rest, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is chaste, whatever is just, whatever is holy, whatever is worthy to be loved, whatever is of good repute, if there is any virtue, if there is anything praiseworthy, if there is any praiseworthy discipline, meditate on these. So that's the answer of all of these problems that we're discussing right now. The source of anxiety is the focusing on things that are threats, the focusing on things that are negative, the focusing on things that are out of our control. And it's crazy if you really think about it. It's self-evident when Jesus says, worry not for tomorrow. Tomorrow will have enough worries for its own. For me and for I think everyone else, we worry about the future often. But nobody knows what the future is, and so there's essentially an infinite amount of things that we can worry about, and almost all of them are false. And if you look back in the past when you've worried about the future, if you remember other times that you've worried about the future, we often worry about things that never come to fruition. And so wisdom, part of what wisdom is seeing that and realizing that it wouldn't be good to spend your life worrying about things that never even occur. Better to focus on truth. Better to focus on honesty. Better to focus on things that are praiseworthy to God. Sarah said, I tend to fall back into chatting online because I crave validation when I'm feeling anxious. When you say chatting online, do you mean from dating websites and things, or what do you mean? Jake Fraser said, whenever you feel anxious, do digital detox. Go outside, take fresh air, go for long walks, talk to good people, exercise, read, meditate, stress, cook good food, be still. Very true. Very true. And I do all of those things except for in regards to a digital detox. I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing right now. I genuinely enjoy creating content. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to let my intentions pull me away from creating content that I love to create and creating content that I would love to consume, because I'm so worried about other perceptions and I'm so worried about pleasing other people. So digital detox, yes, but also confront your fears. And this was something that I was afraid of, so I had to do it. And I'll probably keep doing it. I don't know what I'll keep doing, but I'll certainly keep creating content in some form because I love it. Sarah said there aren't really any walkable areas with fresh air here in the Philippines since I live in the city, but sure, I'll give them a try. Yeah, if you can, there is something medicinal about nature. If you can find nature, that's always healing. Sakura said, James, hello. Can advice to check up on one person also on YouTube, not grand, but simple stuff. He is calm like you, no loud speaking and burning sulfur stuff. Lee Malalu is the name. Malala. Yeah, if I remember, I'll check that out. Maybe will something simple for you. Best wishes. Thank you, Sakura. Oh, maybe will be. That's a good question. Jake said, do you think David was a good person? Azura Sky, morning. Good morning to you as well. Do you think David was a good person? Do you think David was a good person? I really love David's persistence, because the thing about the main difference between David and Saul, these are like there's a motif throughout the entire Bible, which is the hostile brothers motif. Cain versus Abel, Jacob versus Esau. There's maybe even you could say Moses versus Pharaoh. There's a bunch of hostile brothers motif where you've got two very similar people in very similar situations, but they go about things in a different way. And it becomes clear that one is better than the other. And the reason why David is so clearly better than, or at least his soul's orientation, his heart's orientation is more aligned with God, is beautifully revealed at the end of his kingship, because it's pretty profound. Something that when people talk about the story of David, I've not heard many people talk about is David was the king of Israel, and there was horrible things that happened with his son. His son Absalom had a sister and horrible things happened to his sister. And Absalom went and got revenge. And because he got revenge, it was against King David's other son. And so King David was mad at Absalom and he exiled Absalom. But eventually he allows Absalom to come back. And because he allows Absalom to come back, Absalom completely turns on him. And he rallies all of Israel around him to overtake King David. And when I was reading that, I was like, what you would expect David to do, I think, is to fight and to fight for the city of Jerusalem and not give Jerusalem up. But he realizes that he's outnumbered and he asks God what to do. And God basically tells him to retreat out of the holy city of Jerusalem. And David listens to it. And despite the fact that David had gone through so many hardships just to be king, he was chased by the previous king, King Saul. And he had a very arduous path to becoming king. You would think because it was so arduous, once he was in that position, he would cling to it and do whatever he could to not be chased back out in the wilderness. But here he is, his own son is coming into the city with armies. And rather than egotistically stay in the city and try to fight and let a lot of lives be lost, he's asked God what to do, and God tells him to flee the city. And he listens. He listens. So I say that because you ask, do I think King David is a good man? Certainly nobody's good except God. But King David is I don't know how else I would say it, but David is clearly a man after God's own heart. That's the way that David's described, and I think that's perfectly accurate. Sakura said, Lee's point of departure of videos is simplicity of the gospel and yoke of Jesus. Maybe it might resonate with you in a way. Cheers. Jake Fraser, where are you at? You said it's 7:25 here. Where are you? TJ Yao, God bless you as well. Good to see you here. Para Uko said, excellent advice. Thank you. Good to see you live. I hope you are doing well. I pray that God opens the door for you. I appreciate you always joining the live streams, TJ. It's always good to see you. Dom D, welcome. Good to have you here. Jake Fraser is from India. Oh, yeah, I think you told me that in a previous live stream. I do remember that now. What are you guys going to do today? What is your intention with this day? What is your intention with this day? What is my intention with this day? What is my intention with this day? My intention truly is to make today better than yesterday and make tomorrow better than today. I would like to wake up tomorrow knowing that what was done today was merciful, courteous, was done with love. When I was I remember when I was 2025 in 2020 I probably started doing this in 2016, 2017, 2018, but I saw a Latin phrase. I don't even know how I stumbled upon this phrase, but the phrase is "Serva me, servabo te." Save me, and I will save you. Save me, and I will save you. And I think that's the that has a lot of different meanings for me, but one meaning that it has is I think that's the right relationship to have with your future self. That isn't to say that you can save your future self or that your future self can even save you. But I also don't think we fully understand how time works, and I think we look at time as linear. And we look at, well, if I sacrifice well today, if I do the right things today, then I'll start to make progress in my life, and I will I will chemically get dopamine from from the progress that I'm making. But I don't think that thinking about it in terms of dopamine is fully encapsulates what's even happening there. I think we know. I think we intuitively know the type of future that we're walking into. Maybe we don't know it explicitly, but we know it vaguely, and it's like the future can reach back and affect us. And when you're doing things for the right reasons, when you are, this isn't a selfish thing. You're living in a way that your future self will be grateful for the things that your present self has done. I it makes the present better. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's not necessarily dopamine that makes the day more fulfilling. It's more of a literal thing than that. There is an explicit future that we're walking into, and if you live in a way that you are being courteous to your future self, you're aware of the future self who is becoming, then it's like the gratitude of your future self reaches back and makes the day better. Dom D said, I recently read The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. Short read, very profound. I think you would enjoy it. The Practice of the Presence of God. Yeah, that does sound interesting. Let me look that up real quick. Brother Lawrence. J Dad said, "Bro, do you find it's worth making plans and trying to prepare from problems so the Lord can work through you, or just let go and relax entirely so He does it all?" Man, that's such a great question. That's such a great question. Do I think it is worth it to make plans and try to prepare for problems so the Lord can work through you? Man, nothing brings me greater pain than my plans for the future. I mean, because the situation that my life has went down, the path that my life has went down, the situations, the tangible situations that I've found myself in, it makes me want to plan out the future and create a better day, create a more fulfilling day in the future. And so I visualize a better day in the future, and I try to bring that better day to fruition. But I never achieve. I never. The goalpost is always moving, and let me think about that. Prepare, making plans and trying to prepare, or just let go and relax entirely so He does it all. I think you do have to let go and relax, but you also have to do things. But the problem with making plans and doing preparations and having a vision for the future that you try to bring to fruition is that it's not a real thing. It exists within the future, and people talk about, well, make your dreams a reality, make the life that you want to live a reality. One, I try to cultivate the humility, and I find it to be true as well that I actually don't even know what I want. And the things that I thought I want, I achieve them, and when I get there, I realize that they were never what I wanted. But likewise, if I just relax, if I just live fully in the day without sacrificing, without doing what it is that I'm called to do, then I feel miserable there as well. The place where I'm in, that I'm on the edge, the place where I'm at in the flow state, the place where life is optimally meaningful and fulfilling, is exactly what I'm describing here, which is make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Rather than setting a goal for 6 months in the future and living in a way that you can bring that goal to fruition that exists 6 months in the future. For me, I think it's better to focus on the day. And I find that to be truer the more that I try to make plans, and the whether or not I achieve the plans doesn't really matter. The having of plans and striving to fulfill the goals and aspirations, they don't fulfill me because it's a facade. The thing that I'm trying to bring to fruition exists in the future now, and it'll always exist in the future. And so the goalpost keeps moving, and the happiness, the thing that you seek, it's always moving away from you. And then we end up spending our whole life trying to achieve something that isn't real. But the thing that is real is this day. There is a day ahead. There is a day ahead, and there are things that you can control within this day. And we all know who we are, and we all know what is right, and we all know what is wrong. And so let go, yes. Relax, yes. But try to live in a way that your future self, and by future self, you can really just mean yourself literally tomorrow, in 24 hours from now, that he can glance back just for a brief moment and be grateful for the things that you did yesterday. If you could always be grateful for the things that you did literally yesterday, not 10 years ago, but literally yesterday, that's a good place to be. Seal said, "Have you tried HRV breathing for anxiety?" What is HRV? HRV. I have done heavy breathing, deep breathing. Sometimes I do the Wim Hof method, and yeah, it does heal me. But but sometimes the thing that we need, it truly is where we don't want to go. And that's why I'm telling you, there was a battle to do this right here, to turn on a live stream and record. And I don't know, I don't know exactly why, but part of it is because I'm a real human being. I'm a real person. There's a lot of people who I'm not even, it isn't me relative to other people, but I think, just to be very honest, I think sometimes people see people creating content, and they say they see me creating content. But this isn't like this isn't like a Mr. Beast situation where I'm creating a character and I'm uh I've got business goals relative to the content that I'm creating, and I've got the growth of my channel down to a science. And so the thing that you see before you, the person who you see before you, is a character or a caricature. And so if you attack me, then that's fine because you're just attacking a caricature. It's not the real me. That's not what's happening. That's very common with, I think, some people who create content become kind of like TV shows where they're just basically doing, it's not real. None of it is real, and so you kind of can't hurt them. But what it is that I'm doing here, this is 100% me, and yeah, sometimes it hurts, but the hurt is good because it's like working out. It's painful to work out, but it forces you to grow. That's how your muscles get bigger because they break down first. You weight lift and it forces your muscles to break down. And when your muscles break down, you consume some protein and they fill back up with protein and they get stronger over time. And that's what's happening here. I speak my honest truth, and that's my only barrier. As in, that's my only guideline, is to stay oriented towards God and to grow closer to God and to always be authentic and genuine and speak my truth. But the consequence of that is being jabbed, being poked, being, I don't know, people attack you sometimes, and it's fine. I'm just, I don't know, I'm just venting and I'm just saying what is real. And I also won't stop as well. But sometimes it just gets arduous. Dom D said, I have found relinquishing my hopes and plans to God has illuminated his plans for me. And when I make plans and strategize, I try my best to do it prayerfully. I have found relinquishing my hopes and plans to God has illuminated his plans for me. I will address this really quickly. Johnny said, where is he? Aren't you a homeless? He's just tricking your money out of you. You're a scammer. The reason why that's hilarious is because I'm actively talking about how people poke and prick you for no reason. It's like, I don't know what videos this guy has watched of mine, but it's like, if you haven't watched the videos and if you haven't paid attention to the narrative, just say that. Just say that. I have found relinquishing my hopes and plans to God has illuminated his plans for me. And when I make plans and strategize, I try my best to do it prayerfully. Yeah, that's one thing that I'm trying to do more often in my life as well. The the good thing about feeling anxious and having uneasy feelings within you and having anxiety bubble up from your stomach to your heart and to your head, it makes you incredibly uncomfortable, and in the discomfort, you often have nowhere to look. It reaches a point of rock bottom and emptiness, and you have nowhere to look except God. And so lately, I mean, especially for the past month, I've been reading the Bible very, very, very often. And one thing I want to do, other than just read the Bible very often, every day, but for multiple hours every day, one thing I want to do is prayer. Pray more. Because I always bow onto my knees and pray to God, but sometimes it would be better just to speak. That is good, but sometimes it would also be good just to speak to God when you're taking a walk outside, when you're walking somewhere. Yeah, they're asking me to remove you, Johnny. Do you have something positive to say, or are you commenting on the videos that I've made without actually having watched the videos? Because you're bringing up videos that were from a month ago when I was in a different place. And the very first video that you brought up answers your question. I'm just assuming you didn't watch it. Which is fine if you didn't watch it, but then why would you assume what it means just from how you perceived the title? I do want to be slow to kick people, so I'm waiting to see if he's got something else to say. Something more positive. Something positive. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. All right. Do, do, do. All right, I just won't block him. Make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Baby steps, patience, and humility. Baby steps, progress. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. All right. We're going back to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 12. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the time of affliction arrives and the years draw near, about which you will say, these do not please me. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened and the clouds return after the rain, when the guardians of the house will tremble and the strongest men will waver, and those who grind grain will be idle, except for a small number, and those who look through the keyholes will be darkened. And they will close the doors to the street, and when the voice of he who grinds the grain will be humbled, and they will be disturbed at the sound of a flying thing, and all of the daughters of song shall become deaf. Likewise, they will fear the things above them, and they will dread the way. The almond tree will flourish, the locust will be fattened, and the caper plant will scatter, because man shall go into the house of his eternity, and the mourners shall wander around in the street. Before the silver cord is broken, and the golden band pulls away, and the pitcher is crushed over the fountain, and the wheel is broken above the cistern, and the dust returns to its earth from which it was, and the spirit returns to God who granted it. Vanity of vanities, said Ecclesiastes, and all is vanity. And since Ecclesiastes was very wise, he taught the people, and he described what he had accomplished. And while searching, he composed many parables. He sought useful words, and he wrote most righteous words, which were full of truth. The words of the wise are like a goad, and like nails deeply fastened, which, through the counsel of teachers, are set forth by one pastor. You should require no more than this, my son, for there is no end to the making of many books, and excessive study is an affliction to the flesh. Let us all listen together to the end of the discourse. Fear God and observe his commandments. This is everything for man. And so, for all that is done, and for each error, God will bring judgment, whether it was good or evil. I'm going to read that last part one more time. And this is the guidance of the day. This is what I'm working on today. The words of the wise are like a goad, and like nails deeply fastened, which, through the counsel of teachers, are set forth by one pastor. You should require no more than this, my son, for there is no end to the making of many books. You should require no more than this, my son, for there is no end to the making of many books, and excessive study is an affliction to the flesh. Let us all listen together to the end of the discourse. Fear God and observe his commandments. This is everything for man. And so, for all that is done and for each error, God will bring judgment, whether it was good or evil. And that's the message of the day. That's what I'm going to work on today, being alive. And I appreciate all of you guys who joined. I appreciate your comments. Azura final comments is saying, I believe anxiousness can be a form of waiting for the Lord's return and judgment day, that our sins won't be forgiven. It also means on some level that you are God-fearing, that you actually believe in God. True? Yeah, the anxiety that I feel is spiritual. I have a spiritual anxiety. I'm not a perfect man. I'm not a teacher. I am a flawed man, and my sometimes I'm too distant from God. I just want to be closer to God. And not being close enough to God does make me anxious. But the good news is that there is a day ahead. There is a day ahead, and this very day that we have is a gift from God, and it is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and I will be glad. And for now, that is all that I have. Goodbye.